You're back on. Okay, let's do it.
Next question is by Dr. Aris Labian. He's a microsurgery fellow at the University of Southern California and resident ambassador for PRS Journal. And his question is, what are your recommendations for managing unsatisfied or unhappy patient post-op? Regardless of whether the outcomes are thought to be appropriate, these patients can be significantly challenging, especially for plastic surgeons starting out. Do you have any tips, pearls, or pitfalls for these situations?
Okay. It's a great question, Aura. And I think no matter what you do, whether it's reconstructive, micro, or cosmetic surgery, you can't ever make anybody happy. Nobody's perfect. I think the biggest thing to do is to listen. Listen to the patient and really be caring and compassionate. And if you can be caring and compassionate, most logical patients will be reasonable. And that means that when you're caring and compassionate and you hear what they say and you mean it, that I hear what you're saying, I know that doesn't look right, or that flap didn't quite do what I wanted it to do, or your nose doesn't quite look as good as I want it to, but let's give it some more time, because when it's been a year or a year and a half, if you're not happy, we will fix it. I think you always have to have some type of positive closure and things that are realistic. And if you see a problem, like if I see a patient that has a problem either with their face or their nose, I say, listen, once we're done with, the wound healing, then if there's an issue, we'll fix it. Most reasonable patients accept that. If they're not reasonable, then you should continue to try and, be caring and compassionate. And if that doesn't work, then you need to say, okay, these are the things that, I've outlined, and there's nothing else that I can do, but, you maybe need to see another person, get another opinion, but I'm here to help you. I think you always have to try and leave them on a positive note.
Sounds good. Yeah, it's a very good question. I think it's a very hard thing to do when you're just starting out.
Yeah.
So next question comes from Dr. Roy Kim. He's a private practice plastic surgeon in San Francisco and social media editor for PRS Journal. And his question is, in your wonderful remembrance of your mother in PRS, you mentioned that she always loved you and supported you, even when you drove the family car into a lake during high school. Could you give us details about this episode? Who owned the car? Why did you drive it into the lake? Was the car able to be salvaged?
Oh my goodness, Roy. Well, that was, of course, a high school prom, and those were all things that. Yes, of course, it was my parents' car, and of course that made it even worse. And we did salvage it. A couple of my friends, we pulled it out of the lake. I mean, it was just partially submerged. And of course, there was, it was, a high school party. So there was a lot of things going on, and so, but it was fine. I mean, but those are all things that you remember, and after the initial trauma, you come clean, you're honest with your parents, and then, you move on.
That's a nice memory.
Yeah. Now it's a nice memory. Then it was kind of a challenging memory, But that's funny. Well, we have to thank Roy for reading it. Yeah. I said we have to thank Roy for reading the editorial. That's funny.
Yeah, it's a great one. I think that the first lines that I actually read were from this editorial. It's my favorite, for sure. So next question comes from Dr. Evan Matras. And we have a lot of microsurgery people today asking questions. He's an attending physician of the Division of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery, Memorial Sloan Kettering. And his question is, what were your greatest challenges or obstacles in life? And what do you consider as your greatest accomplishments? I know it's a hard question because you had so many. But if you had to pick one, what would it be?
Well, I think the greatest accomplishment is my family, my kids. They're great. I mean, you always wish you spend more time with them. They're growing up, and now they're adults. And now I'm the one who's asking to spend time with them. It's it's like the song "Cats in the Cradle." And So you always wish you had spent more time with your kids. And the biggest challenges are always trying to be better than you can be. And I think perfection is not always so good. You strive for perfection, but you should never, you never get there. So I think trying to be perfect all the time can be a challenge. And so, work hard, stay focused, be the best you can be, I think is really a much healthier way to live life. And I tell my kids that all the time.
Next question comes from Dr. Kate Bohm. She is a video index editor for PRS. For surgeons early in their practice, how do you recommend building a tailored practice to your interest or area of exercise, particularly if you were not hired as an academic physician to fill a specific role?
Well, I think, you have to follow your passion. I've been lucky to have multiple careers. I started out as a microsurgeon, as a craniofacial surgeon, and then hand surgery, and then I transitioned to breast surgery and Mohs surgery. So I was very lucky to have all those because, I was trained to do that. But I think you have to follow your passion. You always will be the best at what you love to do. No matter what anybody else says, if you love it, you're eventually going to be great at it and you're going to be an expert. And you'll be better than anybody else. But if you don't love it, you're not going to be good at anything. I see so many plastic surgeons that they just kind of drudge along. And, I've never worked a day in my life, Stav, because I love what I do. Every day is a great day because I love what I do. And I think we're lucky in plastic surgery to have that. And once you find that, it's nirvana.
Yeah, you never work a day in your life when you love it.
Never.
Okay, so next question is from Dr. Jesse Taylor, Chief of the Division of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. You have many questions, many good ones. So as perhaps the most well-read plastic surgeon of our time, and he says, I know Rod has read every PRS article of all time. What innovations do you see in clinical practice over the next decade?
What will be the next innovation? Well, first of all, I have read every issue of the journal. When I started, when I was a fellow at Oxford, I read every issue, mainly because initially I was bored from 1946 and then in the mid 80s. But, of course, I read every issue because I put together every issue. But I think some of the biggest innovations in the past have been microsurgery, tissue expansion, transplantation, craniofacial surgery, and the advances in cosmetic surgery, and probably the safety of doing all these surgeries with anesthesia. I think the next true innovation will be, I think, in non-invasive, non-surgical reconstruction, non-surgical both cosmetic and reconstructive surgery. I really think, and I know I think that the long surgery procedures we do are going to be a thing of the past. I think the long facelifts, the long microsurgery, the free flaps, they're going to be a thing of the past in the future because we're going to be able to make breasts, rejuvenate faces, all that with minimal to no surgery. And I think that's the new horizon. And as a plastic surgeon, that probably breaks my heart to say that, but I see the trend is to minimally to non-invasive surgery. And you embrace it. And, you're going to see that, Stav. You are the generation that is going to bring that to the fore. And that's going to be great because, the great thing about plastic surgery is that we've never owned an organ. We don't own the brain like in neurosurgery or anything else, but we own innovation. And innovation is what drives us. Innovation is what identifies who we are as plastic surgeons. And that's what makes our specialty what it is and what invigorates us. So I think we should continue to own innovation.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think is going to be the plastic surgeon's role in the next, let's say, decade?
I think we're going to be, make sure we're at the steering wheel of that innovation. Whatever it is, I think our role will be front and center. It may not be as heavy surgically related, but it's going to be related to improving people's lives, making them look better, feel better, and also restoring shape and form, like plastic surgery means, to form and to make. So I think doing that is going to be revolutionary. But the key is plastic surgeons have to stay in the forefront. And, the things you're doing in the lab at Sloan Kettering, the things that we have to continue to innovate. If we don't, others will supersede us.
Yeah. Okay. And last question. How has social media changed your life? That's a good one. A little question, but a very long answer, I guess.
Well, that's why we're here today. I mean, social media transcends all of us. I mean, I think social media, is number one. It's here to stay. It's really transformed all of life, all of medicine. And I think we should use social media not to impress each other, but to really impact each other. And that means we impact them educationally. We impact them by talking to others, not just face-to-face, but like we're doing today. You're in New York, I'm in Dallas, but we're changing things. We're impacting others. And I think social media, if used to impact others, is very powerful. It is amazing what it has done to our specialty in the short time period. And we have to embrace it. It's like change. You have to embrace it because if you don't do it, it will transform you without your ability to be part of it. So it's a game changer. And I think it's really the one thing that's going to actually take plastic surgery to the next level. It brings out who and what we are and really makes sure that real plastic surgeons are the voice for plastic surgery. So I think it's very impactful. And, you will be a future leader in plastic surgery and you're very savvy in social media. So I think, you will be at that lightning rod, which I think is really going to be phenomenal for all of us.
So what platform out of what we have, like, let's say Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, what platform do you think, or TikTok?
Well, you have to play in all of them to see which one works the best. Whether we like it or not, Facebook is still the big one, and so is Google, and so is YouTube. And, the rapid risers, of course, are Instagram and TikTok. For us, those are the ones that are impactful, especially Instagram, I think, for your generation and even my generation, because it's interactive. You can do videos, you can do photos. I think it's a way to communicate. It's a way we embrace and talk to our patients and talk to each other. And YouTube. I mean, we all go to YouTube when we want to fix something, do something, know something. It's really what is all about us. And so I would say that I would just wait, but be in all of them, and then you'll know what happens. It's happened to Instagram. Instagram was very small 5-6 years ago, and now it's the big one after, of course, Facebook. But what's next? Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah. So super fascinating discussion, Dr. Rohrich. I learned a lot and had the best time as always.
Well, listen, Stav, I want to thank you for those incredible, very insightful questions, and some were tough questions, but I would expect no less from you. And so I want to invite you to Dallas Rhino and Dallas Cosmetic coming up next March 10th through the 13th. And I want to invite you to come and be with us, and we'll do part 2 of this podcast. And
thank you so much for the invite. I'm going to come for sure.
Yeah. And God willing, COVID free, will be fine. And stay tuned. We're going to be doing an upcoming podcast on this. And I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me. And I look forward to seeing anything coming up in your life or what's going on in New York that you'd like to share with us that I can share with my audience.
Most of the things we're working on are pretty secret.
Yes. She's a research fellow at the lab at Sloan Kettering, so that's totally appropriate. But you're going to be presenting him. You're going to be presenting him soon. I know you're a great presenter. You presented last weekend, right? In at Northeastern Society, and all I want to say is keep up the great work. I mean, I love what you're doing, and keep publishing in PRS. And I look forward to doing some more articles with you. I want to compliment you on a great chapter we did recently. It was amazing. It was one of the few chapters I hardly ever had to touch or edit, and I want to compliment you as editor of the journal. That's pretty rare. So kudos to you. And again, I thank you for joining me on this podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
You bet. Take care.